Ancient engineering feats stand as silent challenges to our modern world. We possess powerful machines and advanced science, yet the methods behind these structures often remain locked in mystery. This is a journey through 25 specific marvels where the purpose, the scale, or the sheer technique of construction baffles contemporary experts. These are not merely old ruins, they are intricate puzzles carved in stone and metal, each one testing the limits of what we believe possible for their time. We will travel across continents and millennia, from a pyramid aligned with celestial precision to a manuscript that defies every modern attempt to read it. You will discover how a single iron pillar has resisted rust for over 1,600 years, and how massive stones were moved across impossible landscapes. By the end, you will see human history not as a straight line of progress, but as a story punctuated by flashes of knowledge we have yet to fully recover. How did cultures without modern tools achieve such flawless perfection? What forgotten principles of physics or organization might they have commanded? The answers, if they exist, could reshape our entire narrative. What do you believe is the greatest mystery left behind by the ancient world? Our first stop is a structure so immense and precise it has defined mystery for millennia. The Great Pyramid of Giza is not just a tomb, it is a mountain of engineered stone, built with a level of accuracy that modern builders would struggle to replicate even with laser guidance. The numbers alone are staggering. Over 2 million individual blocks were used, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, with some of the granite blocks inside the king's chamber exceeding 50 tons. These are not rough boulders, they are cut with joints so tight you cannot slide a piece of paper between them. This precision is not limited to the stonework. The pyramid's base is a near-perfect square, with sides aligned almost exactly to the cardinal directions. Its north-facing side points toward true north with an error of just 3/60ths of a single degree. This alignment is more accurate than the Royal Observatory in Greenwich was capable of achieving when it was built in the 17th century. How did the ancient Egyptians, over 4,500 years ago, achieve such celestial orientation without modern instruments like the compass or theodolite? The mystery deepens when we consider the logistics. The limestone blocks were quarried locally, but the granite came from Aswan, over 500 miles up the Nile. Transporting these colossal stones, some the size of small rooms, across such a distance without the wheel being in common use, is a feat that defies simple explanation. Theories abound, from elaborate ramp systems that leave no archaeological trace to methods involving water channels and counterweights. Yet no single theory satisfactorily answers every question about the quarrying, movement, and meticulous placement of every single block. The Great Pyramid stands as a silent testament to a lost chapter of engineering, a perfect geometric form rising from the desert, its construction methods still whispering secrets we have yet to fully hear. Yet the Great Pyramid is not the only ancient artifact that forces us to reconsider the technological timeline. In the year 1901, sponge divers off the coast of a small Greek island named Antikythera discovered something that would rewrite history. Amid the broken pottery and statues from a sunken Roman cargo ship, they found a lump of corroded bronze and wood. At first glance, it seemed like worthless wreckage. But decades later, when scientists carefully examined it, they realized they were holding the fragments of the world's first known analog computer. This device, now called the Antikythera Mechanism, dates to around the 2nd century before the Common Era. It is a complex clockwork of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, housed in a wooden case roughly the size of a large shoebox. Its purpose was astonishing. By turning a hand crank on the side, an ancient user could calculate the positions of the sun, the moon, and the 5 known planets. It could predict lunar and solar eclipses with remarkable accuracy and even model the irregular orbit of the moon. This was not a simple calendar. It was a dynamic, mechanical model of the universe, a portable planetarium operated by a system of precision, gears that would not be seen again in Europe until the cathedral clocks of the 14th century. The true mystery lies in its isolation. Why does such a sophisticated piece of mechanical engineering, demonstrating a profound understanding of astronomy and gear technology, appear to have no clear ancestors? And why, after its creation, does this knowledge seem to vanish for over 1,000 years? There are no other devices like it from the ancient Greek or Roman world. It stands as a singular spark of genius, a glimpse of a technological path that history, for reasons we may never know, chose not to follow. Was it the prized possession of a brilliant philosopher, or a more common tool lost in the shipwreck of time? The Antikythera Mechanism whispers of an alternate history of science, one where the age of computation might have begun not in the 20th century, but before the birth of Christ. Far from the Mediterranean sunken ships, in the lush river deltas of Central America, another ancient mystery sits silently in the jungle. The stone spheres of Costa Rica, discovered in the 1930s as workers cleared land for banana plantations, are a collection of over 300 nearly perfect orbs. They range in size from a child's plaything to colossal spheres over 8 feet in diameter and weighing 16 tons. Their sphericity is not approximate, it is unnervingly precise. Modern measurements show many are accurate to within a few millimeters, a level of perfection that suggests the makers had a clear, unwavering concept of the sphere as an ideal geometric form. This precision becomes even more baffling when you consider the material. These spheres were carved from granodiorite, an incredibly hard volcanic rock similar to granite. The society that created them, part of the Dikwis culture that flourished from around 800 to 1500 Common Era, is not known to have used metal tools. So how did they achieve such flawless symmetry? Archaeologists suggest they likely used a combination of controlled fracture, where smaller stones were hammered to break away larger pieces, and meticulous pecking and grinding with other, even harder stones. This process for a single large sphere would have represented a monumental investment of time and communal effort, likely spanning generations. Yet the greatest mystery is not just how they were made, but why. Unlike the pyramids or the Antikythera Mechanism, these spheres offer no written records, no carvings, no clear astronomical alignments at their original sites to hint at their purpose. They were found in groupings, sometimes in lines or triangles, often near the remains of important structures, but their original arrangement and intent are lost. Were they symbols of celestial bodies, markers of territory, or representations of social status? We simply do not know. Furthermore, moving these multi-ton stone balls from their mountain quarries down to the lowland settlements through dense, uneven terrain remains a logistical puzzle. Their creation speaks of a sophisticated, patient society with advanced stoneworking knowledge, but one that chose to express its genius not in towering monuments, but in perfect, silent spheres whose meaning has been completely erased by time and the regrowth of the jungle. They are a beautiful, enduring enigma, a testament to a culture whose greatest achievements were not meant for the sky, but for the earth itself. High in the Andes Mountains, overlooking the ancient Inca capital of Cusco, stands a fortress that seems to defy the very nature of stone. Sacsayhuamán is not built with bricks or uniform blocks. Instead, its colossal walls are a breathtaking mosaic of giant limestone boulders, some weighing over 120 tons, each one a unique, irregular polygon. These stones are not stacked. They are intricately fitted together in a complex, zigzagging pattern, interlocking like a three-dimensional puzzle of unimaginable scale. The precision is what truly stuns every observer. The joints between these massive stones are so perfectly engineered that you cannot insert a razor blade, a piece of paper, or even a single human hair between them. This technique, known as ashlar masonry, achieved a seamless bond without any mortar, creating walls that have withstood centuries of earthquakes that have leveled modern constructions all around them. The sheer logistics are baffling. The limestone was quarried from sites several miles away, without the wheel, without iron tools, and without draft animals stronger than the llama. How did the Inca transport these house-sized stones across rugged mountain terrain and then up the steep hill to the site? Even more perplexing is the cutting and fitting process. The Inca are known to have used stone hammers, bronze chisels, and sand for abrasion. Yet the consensus among engineers is that with these tools, achieving such flawless, complex joints on granite-like stone would be an excruciatingly slow, virtually impossible task. The surfaces are not just flat, they are subtly curved and angled to match their neighboring stone with microscopic accuracy. This has led to an enduring and passionate debate. Some researchers propose the Inca possessed a lost technique, perhaps using plant acids to soften the stone surface for shaping, a method for which there is little archaeological evidence. Others suggest an almost inconceivable level of patience and skill, where workers spent generations pecking and grinding each stone into its perfect place through trial and error, using wooden templates or clay molds. The walls of Sacsayhuamán stand as a silent, monumental question. They represent a harmony between human intention and natural materials so complete it appears magical. Were the Inca master geometers understanding stone in a way we have since forgotten? Or does their achievement point to a simpler, yet profoundly different, relationship with time and community, where a project could span lifetimes to achieve perfection? The fortress does not give up its secrets. It simply endures, a testament to a civilization that could make mountains bow and stone flow like water. Isolated in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, Easter Island presents a landscape of silent, brooding giants. The Moai, over 900 massive stone statues carved from compressed volcanic ash, stand or lie scattered across the island, their impassive faces gazing inland. Their scale is humbling. The average statue stands about 13 feet tall and weighs around 14 tons, but the largest ever attempted, nicknamed El Gigante, lies unfinished in its quarry, stretching to a staggering 70 feet and estimated to weigh over 270 tons. The Rapa Nui people, with a population that historians estimate never exceeded 15,000, created these monuments using only stone hand tools called toki. They carved the Moai directly from the soft volcanic tuff of the Rono Raraku quarry, a process that would have been painstaking but understandable. The true engineering mystery, the one that has fueled debate for generations, is how they then transported these multi-ton figures across miles of rugged, hilly terrain to their final ceremonial platforms called ahu around the island's coast. The island had no trees large enough for rollers, no wheels, and no large animals for draft power. So how did they move the statues? One of the most compelling modern theories suggests the answer is deceptively simple. The statues walked. Not on their own, of course, but through a coordinated rocking motion. Experiments have shown that by attaching ropes to a moai and having teams carefully pull from side to side, a statue can be made to rock forward in a shuffling gait. This method, which aligns with local oral traditions that the statues walk to their places, is efficient and requires relatively few people. It also explains why so many statues found along the ancient roads appear to have fallen forward, as if they stumbled during their journey. An opposing theory argues for a more grounded approach, using a wooden sled or cradle atop a prepared track of lubricated sweet potato paste. Yet each theory faces challenges. The walking method risks damaging the statue's base, while the sled theory requires significant amounts of timber the island may not have possessed in sufficient quantity. The final act, the erection of the Moai onto their stone platforms, presents another puzzle. Some researchers propose elaborate ramp systems built from earth and stone, while others suggest a levering technique, slowly raising the statue inch by inch with logs and ropes. The true method remains a subject of passionate research, a testament to the ingenuity of a community that turned their entire island into a sacred landscape. The silent Moai are more than art. They are a physical record of a society's profound dedication, a feat of collective will and clever physics that transformed a remote island into a gallery of giants, whose method of arrival at their posts we are still striving to fully understand. While the Moai stand as giants of the Pacific, the Mediterranean coast holds stones of a scale that seems to belong to a world of myth. In the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon, the ancient Roman temple complex of Baalbek presents a foundation that defies all conventional understanding of classical engineering. Here, resting upon a platform of smaller yet still massive blocks, are three limestone behemoths known as the Trilithon. Each one of these stones measures roughly 64 feet long, 14 feet high, and 13 feet wide. Their weight is almost incomprehensible, estimated at 800 tons apiece. To put that in perspective, each block equals the mass of two fully loaded Boeing 747 jetliners. These are not natural formations. They have been precisely cut with straight edges and square corners, then lifted over 20 feet to sit perfectly level in the temple's retaining wall. The quarry from which they were extracted lies nearly a full mile away, a site where an even larger block, nicknamed the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, remains partially attached to the bedrock. That abandoned monolith weighs an estimated 1,200 tons. The questions these stones pose are monumental. How did Roman engineers, even at the peak of their prowess, manage to extract such flawless blocks from the earth? More pressingly, how did they transport 800 tons of solid limestone across a mile of uneven ground? The standard Roman methods for moving heavy stones involved wooden sledges, rollers, and large crews of men or oxen, but these techniques were typically used for stones a fraction of this size. The friction alone in moving an 800-ton load would be immense, likely crushing any wooden rollers or tracks beneath it. Some theories suggest an elaborate system of cranes and counterweights, but no Roman crane technology we know of could have handled such mass. Others propose they were moved during winter on roads that were deliberately iced to reduce friction. A clever idea, but one without direct historical evidence for a project of this scale. The sheer manpower required staggers the imagination, potentially involving thousands of workers coordinating in perfect unison for a single, agonizingly slow pull. The placement is another layer of mystery. Lifting these stones to their precise position in the wall would require a feat of leverage and stability that seems to push the boundaries of what was mechanically possible in the ancient world. The Romans were brilliant engineers, but the Trilithon stones of Baalbek stand as a stark outlier, a project of such extravagant ambition that it challenges our entire timeline of their capabilities. Were these blocks a symbolic display of imperial power, a statement so important it justified a logistical nightmare, or do they hint at a lost technique, a forgotten principle of mass mobilization that vanished with the empire itself? The wall does not answer, it simply looms, a silent testament to a weight the ancient world could lift, but whose method we can only strain to imagine. The precision of Baalbek speaks of a civilization mastering weight, but on another continent, an ancient people mastered the art of perspective on an impossible scale. Shifting from colossal stones to colossal drawings, we find the Nazca Lines of Peru. These are not structures you walk around, but designs you must soar above to truly see. Etched into the dark, stony surface of the Pampa, Colorado desert over 2,000 years ago, the lines are a gallery of giant geoglyphs. They are created by the simple, yet staggering, act of removing the top layer of reddish-brown iron oxide-coated pebbles to reveal the lighter-colored sand beneath. This technique is straightforward in concept, but the execution is what defies belief. The artwork includes hundreds of straight lines that run perfectly true for miles across the desert floor, immense geometric shapes like trapezoids and triangles, and over 70 detailed figures of animals and plants. A hummingbird with a wingspan wider than a jumbo jet, a spider over 150 feet long, a monkey with a spiraling tail. Each figure is a single, continuous line, an outline of breathtaking accuracy. The mystery begins with the question of creation. How did the Nazca culture between 500 before the Common Era and 500 Common Era achieve such precise, large-scale surveying without the ability to fly? The straight lines are arrows straight over hills and valleys, maintaining their direction across the uneven terrain. To do this from ground level without modern optical tools like theodolites would require an advanced understanding of simple surveying techniques. Researchers suggest they likely used a series of stakes and ropes sighting along poles to maintain alignment. The more complex animal figures, however, present a greater puzzle. One prevailing theory is that the Nazca artists created smaller-scale models on prepared grids, then used a system of proportional measurement to transfer the design, stake by stake, to the monumental desert canvas. This would require not just skill, but a shared, rigorous plan held in the minds of the community over the lengthy construction period. Yet the greater, enduring enigma is purpose. Why create art that you cannot see? The most famous theories range from the practical to the celestial. Some researchers propose they were ritual pathways walked during ceremonies. Others see them as a giant astronomical calendar, aligning with stars or solstice sunrises. Another hypothesis suggests they were messages or offerings to deities in the sky, perhaps linked to water, the most precious resource in the arid landscape. The line's preservation is itself a marvel of environmental engineering, as the desert's unique windless, rainless climate has kept them intact for millennia. They are a testament to a culture that thought in monumental terms, transforming an entire plateau into a sacred diagram. The Nazca Lines force us to reconsider the very nature of art and communication. They are a message written on the earth itself, a language of shape and scale meant not for human eyes at ground level, but for a viewer we can only speculate about. They remain Peru's whispered secret, a puzzle drawn in the sand, waiting for a key we have yet to find. While the Nazca artists were etching messages into the desert, a different kind of endurance was being forged in metal. In the Qut complex in Delhi, India, stands a 7-meter-tall iron pillar that has watched empires rise and fall for over 1,600 years. Erected around 400 in the Common Era, it bears a Sanskrit inscription praising a king named Chandra, likely Chandragupta II. But its true marvel is not its age or its inscription. It is the simple, impossible fact that it has not rusted away. In a region with hot, humid summers and monsoon rains, this ancient iron column remains remarkably free of significant corrosion, a silent defiance of the relentless chemistry that turns modern steel to brittle flakes in mere decades. This is not a case of perfect preservation. A close look reveals a thin, stable patina, a gentle discoloration that actually protects the metal beneath. But the complete absence of the deep, destructive rust we expect is what makes it a metallurgical mystery. The pillar was created through a technique called forge welding, where ancient Indian blacksmiths heated and hammered together individual pieces of wrought iron into a single, solid mass. The iron itself is remarkably pure with a very low carbon content, but its secret weapon appears to be its high phosphorus content. Modern steel production deliberately removes phosphorus as an impurity because it makes metal brittle. Yet here, in this ancient artifact, that same phosphorus combined with the local climate seems to have fostered the growth of a protective passive layer. This thin film of iron hydrogen phosphate hydrate acts as a shield, preventing oxygen and moisture from attacking the metal core. The process is so effective that scientists note attempts to replicate the pillar's exact composition and environmental conditioning in a laboratory have not fully matched its legendary resistance. The pillar represents a profound, perhaps accidental, mastery of materials. Its creators were working with an intuitive understanding of their craft, achieving a result that our modern science, with all its analytical power, still views with a sense of wonder. It stands not as a monument to a forgotten king, but to the anonymous smiths whose fire and hammer unlocked a secret of longevity that our own technology is still learning to decode. The longevity of the iron pillar speaks to a mastery of material, but what if the very foundations of civilization were laid far earlier than we ever dared to believe? Deep in the southeastern region of Turkey, on a windswept hill known as Göbekli Tepe, archaeologists uncovered a site that did not just rewrite history, it tore up the entire timeline. This is not a city or a palace. It is a series of at least 20 circular enclosures, built not with mud brick but with massive T-shaped limestone pillars. Each ring features 2 taller pillars, some reaching 18 feet high and weighing over 10 tons, set in the center, surrounded by a circle of slightly smaller ones. These are not rough monoliths. They are meticulously shaped, smoothed, and adorned with breathtakingly intricate relief carvings of animals, foxes, boars, cranes, scorpions, and lions frozen in a vibrant, menacing dance across the stone. The artistry is sophisticated, dynamic, and undeniably the work of a coordinated cultural vision. The shocking fact, confirmed by radiocarbon dating, is its age. Construction at Göbekli Tepe began around 9600 before the Common Era. It was intentionally buried around 8000 before the Common Era. This means it is a staggering 6,500 years older than Stonehenge. It predates the Great Pyramid of Giza by a full 7 millennia. It was built before the invention of pottery, before metal tools, before the wheel, and before what we traditionally recognize as agriculture. This discovery turns a fundamental assumption of human development completely on its head. For generations, the accepted story was that the invention of farming created surplus food, which then allowed people to settle down, form complex societies, and only then have the time and resources to build monumental architecture for religious or social purposes. Göbekli Tepe flips this script. Here we have monumental architecture first. The very existence of these colossal, artistically rich enclosures suggests that hunter-gatherers, people who lived by foraging and hunting wild game, were capable of a level of social organization, specialized labor, and symbolic communication we never attributed to them. The engineering questions are profound. The limestone pillars were quarried from local bedrock, but moving a 10-ton block of stone even a few hundred yards without wheels, pack animals, or even pottery vessels to carry water for a large workforce is a monumental logistical puzzle. How did they cut the stone with such precision using only flint tools? How did they coordinate the hundreds of people needed for such a task across seasons, all while still securing their daily food through hunting and gathering? The most compelling theory is that Göbekli Tepe was not a settlement, but a ceremonial center, a sacred meeting ground for scattered bands of hunter-gatherers who would converge at specific times of the year. They would have been drawn by a shared belief system, a common mythology carved into the pillars, and it was this powerful social and spiritual glue that enabled them to pool their labor and achieve the impossible. The site forces us to ask a humbling question. Was it not agriculture that created religion and complex society, but perhaps a shared religious impulse, a desire to build something greater than themselves, that first brought people together in such numbers, eventually leading them to discover how to cultivate the very grains that grew wild on the hills around them? Göbekli Tepe stands as a silent stone rebuttal to our neat narratives. It suggests the human drive to create, to worship, and to organize on a grand scale is far more ancient and far more powerful than we ever imagined. Yet the mystery of Göbekli Tepe's organization leads to another site where the stones themselves seem to reject any simple explanation. In the Bolivian highlands near the shores of Lake Titicaca lies the archaeological complex of Puma Punku. To walk among its ruins is to witness what looks like architectural chaos, a scene of staggering destruction, but a closer look reveals this is not random rubble. It is a field of finely worked stone components scattered across the landscape, as if a giant, intricate model kit was dropped from a great height. The precision locked within these broken pieces is what truly defies belief. The builders worked with two incredibly hard materials, red sandstone and a volcanic rock called andesite. They shaped them into modular blocks, many with a distinctive H shape, along with perfectly flat slabs and complex multi-level platforms. The surfaces are not merely smooth, they are often polished to a near mirror-like finish. The edges are sharp, perfect right angles that meet with geometric precision. But the most baffling features are the intricate channels, grooves, and notches cut into the stone. These are not decorative, they are precise, interlocking joints, some forming complex geometric patterns, others appearing as if designed to hold metal clamps, though no metal has been found there. The uniformity is machine-like. Identical H-blocks have identical cutouts in identical places, suggesting a system of standardized parts, a concept of modular construction that feels startlingly modern. The mystery intensifies when we consider the supposed age and the tools. Mainstream archaeology places Puma Punku's construction as part of the Tiwanaku culture, flourishing around 500 to 1000 Common Era, long before the Inca. The tools available to these people based on archaeological finds were stone hammers, bronze chisels, and simple abrasives. Yet andesite is a brutally hard stone, ranking just below diamond on the Mohs scale. To cut it with such flawless precision, to create those intricate, interlocking channels with such crisp internal corners, using only pounding stones and sand, presents a problem that many engineers and masons find difficult to accept. The work would require not just immense patience, but an ability to maintain perfect alignment and depth across a complex three-dimensional surface that seems to demand something more. How did they achieve such flatness over large areas? How did they drill the perfect, small-diameter holes found in some slabs? The stones of Puma Punku do not look handmade. They look machined. This has led to intense debate, with some suggesting the use of lost tools or techniques, perhaps advanced saws with diamond-like abrasives, or even a method for temporarily softening the stone. Others argue for the sheer generational will of a highly disciplined culture, where craftsmen passed down a secret, perfected technique for working stone over centuries. The site offers no clear answers, only these silent, scattered components. They are the echoes of a blueprint we can no longer read, a testament to a level of stone-working finesse that seems to belong to a different age entirely. Were the builders of Puma Punku master geometers with a forgotten technology, or does their work represent the absolute zenith of what is possible with simple tools, immense skill, and a vision of perfection we have since lost? The stones, in their shattered state, hold the question tightly within their flawless grooves. The flawless stonework of Puma Punku seems to demand a human architect, but what if nature itself could carve with such impossible geometry? Off the western coast of Japan, near the island of Yonaguni, divers exploring the ocean floor made a discovery that blurs the line between the natural world and human intention entirely. Resting about 80 feet below the surface lies a sprawling, mysterious structure known as the Yonaguni Monument. From above, it appears as a massive, tiered complex of sandstone, resembling a sunken fortress or a stepped pyramid. Its most striking features are its stark, clean lines. There are what look like vast, flat terraces connected by sharp, vertical drops. There are corners that meet at perfect 90-degree angles and long, straight channels that run across the rock faces. One of the most compelling formations looks unmistakably like a wide, ceremonial staircase, with steps of uniform height and depth leading to a higher platform. The entire structure is colossal, measuring roughly 160 feet long, 65 feet wide, and rising about 80 feet from the seabed. The moment it was discovered in the mid-1980s, a fierce debate began, one that continues to this day. Is the Yonaguni Monument a breathtakingly rare example of natural geology, or is it the remains of a lost, ancient civilization submerged by rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age, over 10,000 years ago? Geologists who argue for a natural origin point to the region's unique sandstone, which fractures along straight plains due to its sedimentary layers. They explain that strong underwater currents, tectonic activity, and erosion could, over millennia, sculpt the rock into these seemingly artificial forms. The right angles and flat surfaces, they say, are a fantastic coincidence, a trick of perception played by nature's relentless forces. Yet those who see the hand of an ancient builder highlight features that seem to defy simple geology. They point to two round holes, each about 2 feet deep, positioned close together on a terrace, which resemble column bases. They note the presence of what looks like a carved, humanoid face on one wall, and a stone that resembles a crude turtle sculpture. Most persuasive are the geometric alignments and the sheer concentration of these right-angled features in one location, which appears statistically unlikely for a purely natural formation. The scientific challenge is immense. Proving human modification on stone that has been submerged and eroded for thousands of years is extraordinarily difficult. There are no clear tool marks, no artifacts like pottery or tools found in direct, indisputable association with the structure itself. The debate hinges on interpreting shapes, on deciding where the boundary lies between a remarkable rock and a ruined monument. This makes Yonaguni a different kind of mystery. It is not a puzzle of how something was built, but a more fundamental question of if it was built at all. It forces us to confront our own perception, to ask whether we are seeing patterns where none exist, or if we are witnessing the ghostly outline of a forgotten chapter in human history, now silently guarded by the sea. The debate over Yonaguni is a struggle to separate nature's hand from our own, but some creations leave no doubt about human intention. In the Zhejiang province of China, a series of 24 man-made caverns known as the Longyou Caves were discovered by local farmers in 1992. They were not merely holes in the ground. These were vast subterranean palaces carved by hand from solid sandstone. The scale is almost beyond comprehension. Each cave is immense, with some covering over 12,000 square feet of floor space and reaching heights of nearly 100 feet. In total, the ancient workers excavated an estimated 1 million cubic meters of rock. To visualize that, picture a solid block of stone the size of 200 Olympic swimming pools, all painstakingly chiseled out and removed, bucket by bucket, from deep within the earth. Yet the true marvel is not just the volume removed, but the precision of what was left behind. The interiors are not rough, natural grottos. They are architecturally refined spaces. The walls, ceilings, and massive supporting pillars are covered in a uniform pattern of parallel chisel marks, a deliberate, decorative texture that runs across every surface in perfectly straight, parallel lines. This consistent artistry suggests a single, guiding vision, a master plan executed with unwavering discipline. The pillars themselves are a feat of engineering foresight, strategically placed to hold up the enormous weight of the ceiling, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of load distribution and structural integrity. The engineering puzzles are profound. How did ancient workers, using only simple hand tools, achieve such consistent angles and smooth surfaces in near-total darkness? The chisel marks show no signs of soot, ruling out the use of torches that would have left residue. How did they illuminate these caverns to see their work? How did they ventilate the spaces to breathe? Even more baffling is the complete silence from history. Despite their colossal scale, there is not a single written record, drawing, or local legend that mentions the construction of the Longyou Caves. They were simply forgotten, intentionally flooded and hidden until their chance rediscovery. Who commissioned such a monumental, secret project? What was its purpose? Theories range from imperial stone quarries to hidden ceremonial complexes or even elaborate tombs, yet no artifacts or inscriptions have been found to confirm any idea. The caves stand as a ghostly, empty masterpiece, a testament to a labor of generations that history chose not to remember. Their very existence whispers of a lost chapter, a project of such immense scale and skill that its purpose and its people vanished, leaving only these echoing, beautifully carved halls beneath the quiet Chinese countryside. Carved into the stone walls of an ancient Egyptian temple lies an image that has sparked one of the most heated debates in alternative history. Within the crypt of the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, a series of bas-reliefs show a strange and captivating scene. A large, elongated object resembling a modern light bulb is held aloft by a priest. Inside this bulb, a snake stretches in a straight line from a lotus flower at its base to a small box held by a god. Wires or cables seem to connect this apparatus to a pedestal where a standing figure looks on, while a baboon-like creature wields two knives nearby. To the modern eye, the resemblance to an electrical device is startling and immediate. It looks like a giant glass vacuum tube with a filament inside connected to a power source. This interpretation has led to a compelling, though highly controversial, theory. Could the ancient Egyptians have possessed knowledge of electricity, perhaps even using primitive light bulbs to illuminate their dark tombs and temples, explaining the absence of soot marks in places like the pyramids? The symbolism, however, tells a very different story according to mainstream Egyptology. Experts in ancient Egyptian religion interpret the scene not as technology, but as profound mythology. The object is not a light bulb, but a depiction of the creation myth. The snake represents the god Harsomtus, a manifestation of the sun god, emerging from a lotus blossom, which symbolizes birth and creation. The enclosing bulb shape is interpreted as the cosmic womb or a protective serpent tube. The entire tableau is a symbolic representation of the moment of divine emergence, the snake of light coming into being, an act of cosmic illumination rather than literal electrical light. The supporting figures are other deities playing their roles in this sacred drama. The engineering mystery here is not one of construction, but of interpretation. It is a clash between two ways of seeing. One view looks at the past through the lens of our own technological present, seeing familiar shapes and assuming familiar functions. The other view immerses itself in the ancient mind, a world where concepts were expressed through complex, layered symbolism, where a drawing of light was about spiritual revelation, not tungsten filaments. The Dendera relief does not offer easy answers. It serves as a powerful reminder that understanding ancient engineering is not just about analyzing their tools, but about deciphering their thoughts. Were they recording a lost scientific principle in symbolic code, or are we, thousands of years later, simply projecting our own world onto theirs? The stone keeps its secret, leaving us to wonder where the line truly lies between a forgotten technology and a metaphor we have forgotten how to read. A different kind of ancient engineering is found not in stone but on fragile vellum pages. The Voynich Manuscript is a book that actively resists understanding, a locked box of information whose key has been lost for centuries. This small volume, roughly the size of a modern paperback, dates to the early 15th century based on carbon testing of its materials. It is written entirely in a script that has never been seen anywhere else on Earth. The characters flow in a neat cursive hand, arranged in paragraphs that look like a real structured language, yet not a single word has ever been matched to a known tongue. Its pages are filled with bewildering illustrations that deepen the mystery. There are detailed drawings of plants that do not correspond to any known botanical species, their roots and leaves arranged in impossible combinations. There are diagrams of celestial bodies in unfamiliar constellations, and intricate networks of pipes and baths populated by tiny, nude female figures. The most haunting section shows what appear to be cosmological charts, with circular designs containing strange, cell-like structures. This is not a simple journal or a work of fantasy. It presents itself as a serious, systematic compilation of knowledge in a completely invented system. The engineering marvel here is intellectual, a feat of cryptography and information design so robust it has withstood over a century of relentless assault from the world's best codebreakers, including teams from both world wars and, more recently, advanced artificial intelligence. Every technique has been tried. Statistical analysis shows the text has patterns consistent with a natural language, with word lengths and character frequencies that feel logical, yet the meaning remains opaque. Some theorize it is an elaborate hoax, a meaningless cipher created to deceive a wealthy patron, but the consistent, complex structure and the sheer effort involved make this seem unlikely for a medieval forger. Others believe it is an encoded treatise on alchemy, herbal medicine, or even a glimpse into a lost spiritual tradition. The manuscript's very existence is a profound puzzle. It represents a human mind or a group of minds that engineered a complete system of communication, then left behind not a single clue to its decryption. It forces us to confront the limits of our own analytical power. In a world where we can decode genomes and predict cosmic events, this humble book, created over 600 years ago, sits silently in Yale University's Beinecke Library, its pages open, its message perpetually just out of reach. It is a monument not to physical labor, but to the enigmatic power of the human intellect to build a labyrinth from which there seems to be no exit. High in the Peruvian Andes, another fortress seems to laugh at the laws of physics. Ollantaytambo, a strategic Inca stronghold, is a masterpiece of military and sacred architecture. Its most famous section, the Temple of the Sun, remains unfinished, a frozen moment in a colossal construction project. What it left behind are some of the most puzzling stones in all of the Americas. Scattered around the temple platform are 6 enormous red granite blocks, each one a titan weighing well over 50 tons. They are not from the local mountain. They were brought from a quarry on the opposite side of the Urubamba River Valley, a distance of nearly 4 miles as the condor flies. But the journey was anything but a straight line. The true logistical nightmare becomes clear when you stand at the site. The blocks had to be transported down from the quarry high on a mountainside across the rushing river and then hauled up the steep, terraced slopes to their current position, over 900 feet above the valley floor. The Inca had no wheels, no pulleys, no iron, and no beasts of burden stronger than the llama, an animal incapable of pulling such loads. So how did they move these stone giants? The path they likely took is still visible, a wide, purpose-built ramp of compacted earth and stone that snakes up the mountainside to the temple. But the method of movement is the heart of the mystery. One prevailing theory involves a massive coordinated effort of manpower. Thousands of workers would have used ropes made from leather and plant fibers to pull the stones on wooden sledges or rollers. This alone would be a staggering feat of organization, requiring precise communication and rhythm to inch the blocks forward without losing control on the steep incline. However, the terrain presents a specific, almost absurd challenge. To reach the temple, the stones had to cross the Yorubamba River. There is no natural ford at that point. How did they get 50-ton blocks across a deep, fast-moving river? Some archaeologists suggest they may have temporarily diverted the river's flow, a monumental hydrological project in itself. Others propose they built a massive, reinforced bridge or causeway strong enough to bear the incredible weight. Once across, the task of ascending the mountain began. The earthen ramp is an engineering solution we can understand, but the sheer force required to overcome gravity with such mass, using only human strength, strains the imagination. The stones at Ollantaytambo are not just heavy, they are a physical record of a society's collective will. They represent a triumph of logistics over landscape, a puzzle where every step of the journey, quarrying, moving, crossing, and lifting, presents a separate, daunting question. The unfinished temple suggests that even the mighty Inca, masters of organization, may have finally met a challenge that even their ingenuity could not complete. The blocks sit where they were last placed, silent sentinels guarding the secret of their own impossible journey. While the stones of Ollantaytambo speak of immense physical force, a far more delicate artifact suggests a different kind of ancient power. In the 1930s, during excavations near Baghdad, a very peculiar object was unearthed. It was a simple clay jar, roughly the size of a man's fist, dating to the Parthian period around 2,000 years ago. Inside this unassuming container, archaeologists found a carefully arranged assembly. A rolled copper cylinder was sealed into the jar with asphalt, and within this cylinder was an iron rod. The rod was held firmly in place by an asphalt stopper at the top, ensuring it did not touch the sides of the copper tube. The arrangement was intentional, precise, and to the eyes of a modern observer, eerily familiar. It bears a striking structural resemblance to a basic galvanic cell, the kind you might construct in a high school science class to demonstrate a simple battery. If the jar was filled with an acidic or alkaline liquid, like vinegar or grape juice, a chemical reaction would occur. The acidic liquid would act as an electrolyte, allowing electrons to flow between the iron rod and the copper cylinder, generating a small but measurable electric current. This possibility, first proposed seriously in the 1940s, ignited a firestorm of controversy that continues to smolder. Could this humble clay pot be evidence of ancient electrochemistry? If the interpretation is correct, it would mean that a civilization centuries before the Common Era possessed a working, if rudimentary, understanding of electrical principles, a knowledge that would not be formally rediscovered until the work of scientists like Alessandro Volta in the late 18th century. The implications are staggering. What would they have used this tiny current for? The most cited theory is electroplating, the process of using electricity to coat a base metal with a thin layer of a more precious one, like gold or silver. There are examples of fine Parthian and later Sasanian metalwork where the gilding is remarkably thin and even, a result that some argue is difficult to achieve with traditional mercury gilding alone. A small battery could have provided the gentle, controlled current needed for such delicate work. Yet the mystery is deepened by the artifact's isolation. Only a handful of these so-called batteries have ever been found, and none were discovered with wires or electrodes attached. No ancient texts from the region describe anything resembling electrical experimentation. Mainstream archaeology offers alternative, perhaps more mundane explanations. Some scholars suggest the jars were simply secure storage containers for sacred scrolls, made of copper and iron, with the asphalt acting as a protective seal. Others propose they were used for some form of medicinal therapy, where a mild electric shock was applied to relieve pain, a practice known in other ancient cultures. The true purpose may never be known. The Baghdad Battery stands as a tantalizing maybe. It is a physical echo of a possibility, a quiet suggestion that the spark of discovery can flare up in unexpected times and places, only to be lost again to history. It challenges our linear view of scientific progress, reminding us that knowledge is not a straight road, but a landscape where insights can appear, vanish, and wait patiently to be found once more. While the Baghdad Battery hints at a lost spark of knowledge, a far more recent and personal mystery was carved from the earth in modern America. In the humid landscape of Florida, a single man performed an act of engineering that defies belief. Between the early 1920s and his passing in 1951, an immigrant from Latvia named Edward Līdzkalnis single-handedly built what is now known as the Coral Castle. This is not a metaphor. Working entirely alone and almost always at night, Līdzkalnis quarried, carved, shaped, and positioned over 1,100 tons of oolitic limestone, a type of coral rock. The structures he created include a massive 9-ton gate that swings open with the touch of a finger, a 22-ton obelisk, a Polaris telescope perfectly aligned with the North Star, and an intricate rocking chair carved from a single block of stone weighing several tons. The scale of the work is staggering, but the true mystery is the method. Edward Līdzkalnis was a small man, just 5 feet tall and weighing barely 100 pounds. He had no formal engineering training, used only simple hand tools, mostly repurposed automobile parts, and he allowed no one to watch him work. Neighbors would hear him singing as he labored through the night, but by morning, another colossal stone would be perfectly in place. When asked how he managed such feats, he would offer cryptic answers. He claimed to have rediscovered the secrets of the ancient pyramid builders, stating he understood the laws of weight and leverage that they used. He spoke of understanding the magnetic forces of the earth and how to harness them. He even wrote pamphlets on his theories of magnetism, which mixed simple observations with complex, almost mystical assertions. The most persistent theory, given his small stature and the immense weights involved, is that he mastered the use of counterweights and levers, using tripods, chains, and blocks to move stones in a slow, deliberate ballet of physics. Some have suggested he may have used a system of wetting and freezing the coral to make it easier to work, though Florida's climate makes this unlikely. Yet even these explanations struggle to account for the precision and the sheer, solitary nature of the accomplishment. How did one man, with no witnesses and no modern machinery, achieve what would normally require a team of skilled workers with heavy equipment? The Coral Castle stands as a modern-era echo of the ancient puzzles. It is a testament not to a lost civilization, but to a single, determined individual who claimed to have unlocked an old secret. His castle is a physical riddle, a monument that proves that even in the 20th century, profound engineering mysteries could still be crafted, one heavy, silent stone at a time. The Coral Castle stands as a testament to one man's secret, but the sea god's secrets of its own. Off the coast of Bimini in the Bahamas, a strange formation lies beneath the clear, shallow water. Discovered in 1968, it is known as the Bimini Road. From above, it looks remarkably like a sunken, paved highway or the foundation of an ancient harbor wall. It consists of a long, straight line of massive, rectangular limestone blocks, running for nearly half a mile along the seafloor. Many of these blocks are strikingly uniform, appearing as perfect rectangles or squares, some measuring up to 13 feet across. They are arranged in a deliberate-looking J shape, with a second, shorter line of similar blocks running parallel to the main path. The immediate impression is one of human design, of stones carefully placed for a purpose. This visual has fueled a compelling theory. Could this be a remnant of a lost coastal structure, perhaps a harbor breakwater or a ceremonial causeway built by a pre-Columbian civilization, now submerged by rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age? Proponents of the man-made theory point to the blocks' angular shapes and their linear arrangement as clear evidence of intelligent placement. suggesting they are simply too orderly to be a random act of nature. They argue that the stones appear to be laid in a purposeful pattern, with some even showing what look like tool marks or stacking techniques. However, geologists offer a powerful counter-argument rooted in the natural world. They identify the material as beach rock, a type of limestone that forms naturally in the intertidal zone of tropical beaches, as sand, shells, and other sediments cement together with calcium carbonate. They form a solid layer. Over time, this layer can fracture along natural plains, often creating remarkably straight lines and rectangular blocks due to the internal stresses within the rock. When sea levels rise, this fractured beach rock can sink and settle on the seabed, maintaining its geometric appearance. The uniformity, they say, is a fantastic geological coincidence. Scientific expeditions have noted that the blocks are not cut or dressed stone, but naturally fractured, and that they rest on the underlying bedrock rather than on a prepared foundation. The central mystery and the reason for the enduring debate is the lack of conclusive evidence on either side. No artifacts like pottery, tools, or carvings have been found in direct association with the stones to confirm human activity. Yet, the sheer visual impact of that long, straight line of blocks continues to challenge a purely natural explanation. It exists in a frustrating middle ground, a formation that looks engineered but behaves geologically. Is it a road to nowhere, built by hands we cannot find, or simply one of nature's most persuasive imitations of human order? The Bimini Road remains a puzzle written in stone on the ocean floor, a reminder that the boundary between a natural wonder and a lost artifact can be as fluid as the sea itself. The sea's ambiguous pathways lead us back to solid ground and a gateway to the stars. In the high-altitude plains of Bolivia, not far from the scattered puzzle of Puma Punku, stands one of the most enigmatic single stones ever carved by human hands. The Gate of the Sun is a monolithic archway hewn from a single block of andesite weighing an estimated 10 tons. It is not its size alone that captivates, but the breathtaking tapestry of art and astronomy etched across its surface. The entire face of the gateway is dominated by a central, imposing figure believed to represent a celestial deity, often called the staff god. Radiating from this central image in 3 rows are 48 squares, each containing a unique winged figure, some with human heads, others with condor heads, all seemingly in motion toward the central god. This intricate iconography is not merely decorative. Many researchers interpret it as a sophisticated calendar system. The 48 figures could correlate with a lunar sidereal cycle, marking the appearance of stars and constellations over the course of a year. The central god may represent the sun itself, with the surrounding beings charting its relationship to other celestial bodies. It is a complex cosmological map frozen in stone, a testament to the Tiwanaku culture's profound observation of the heavens. This leads to the profound engineering mystery. The andesite block was quarried from a site near Lake Titicaca, many miles away across the difficult altiplano terrain. The Tiwanaku, like their neighbors, did not use the wheel and lacked iron tools. Their hardest metal was bronze, too soft for efficiently cutting volcanic rock. How, then, did they extract this perfect, massive block? How did they transport it without breaking it? And most mysteriously, how did they achieve the deep, crisp, and incredibly detailed bas-relief carvings that cover it? The lines of the carving are sharp and precise, the figures symmetrical and filled with fine details, suggesting the use of tools and techniques that seem to contradict the known material culture. Some theorize the use of abrasive sand and water with stone or copper tools, a process of grinding that would require immense time and a steady, skilled hand. Others wonder if the Tiwanaku possessed a lost method for working stone, perhaps involving thermal shock or chemical agents to soften the surface before carving. The Gate of the Sun stands incomplete, found broken, perhaps never erected in its intended location. It is a frozen moment of genius, a doorway that seems to open not to another room, but to an ancient understanding of time and cosmos. Its creation remains a silent question, a puzzle of both physical logistics and intellectual achievement, asking us how a culture gazing at the stars from a high mountain plain could inscribe their celestial knowledge onto stone with such impossible perfection. The Gate of the Sun offers a complex celestial map, but some ancient art resists any form of translation. In a quiet field in West Dunbartonshire, Scotland, lies a slab of rock that is a canvas of pure mystery. Known as the Cochno Stone, it is a massive expanse of sandstone, roughly 42 feet by 26 feet, making it one of the largest known rock art panels in all of Europe. Its surface is not blank. It is an overwhelming tapestry of ancient graffiti, carved over 5,000 years ago during the Bronze Age. Archaeologists have catalogued over 90 individual markings, but to stand before it is to see a chaotic symphony of shapes. There are hundreds of cup marks, small circular depressions hammered into the stone. Swirling around and connecting these cups are intricate rings, some concentric circles 3 or 4 layers deep, linked by meandering grooves that snake across the rock. Among these are spirals, some curling inward with a hypnotic rhythm, and other abstract geometric patterns that feel both intentional and cryptic. The sheer density of the carving is staggering. It is not a single, simple symbol, but a palimpsest of marks that may have been added to over centuries, a communal project where generation after generation returned to this same stone to add their own enigmatic signature. The immediate questions are as deep as the carvings themselves. What was the purpose of this immense effort? The most common theories point to ritual or spiritual significance. The cup and ring marks could be maps of the stars, charts of sacred landscapes, symbols of fertility, or portals to communicate with ancestors. Some researchers see similarities to trance visions, patterns that might emerge in altered states of consciousness. Yet no interpretation holds universal sway. The meaning is locked away, a language of shape and symbol we have lost the key to understand. The engineering mystery, however, is tactile. How did Bronze Age people, using only stone tools, create such consistent, deep, and smooth carvings across this vast, uneven surface? The grooves are not shallow scratches. They are carefully pecked and ground into the hard sandstone, requiring sustained, forceful work. Achieving the perfect concentric circles, with uniform spacing between rings, suggests the use of a compass-like tool, perhaps a string or a length of leather anchored in the central cup. But maintaining that precision over such a large area, on a stone that slopes and curves, speaks of remarkable skill and planning. The Cochno Stone was buried for preservation in the 1960s and only briefly re-exposed for study in recent years, adding to its aura of hidden knowledge. It does not tower like a pyramid or form a recognizable structure. Its power is in its incomprehensibility. It is a message from the past that we can see clearly but cannot read, a testament to a fundamental human urge to make a mark, to inscribe meaning onto the world, even if that meaning would one day become the greatest mystery of all. Scattered across the turquoise atolls of the Maldives, a different kind of coral masterpiece rises from the landscape. The ancient coral stone mosques of this island nation are architectural marvels built from the sea itself. Constructed between the 12th and 17th centuries, these sacred structures are not made from brick or imported granite. Their very walls are formed from massive blocks of porite coral, a living stone harvested directly from the surrounding reefs. The visual harmony of these mosques is stunning, with their clean lines, intricate coral carvings, and elegant minarets, but the true engineering mystery is hidden in the joints. These mosques were built entirely without mortar. Instead, each coral block was painstakingly shaped to interlock with its neighbors through a complex system of precise grooves, notches, and projections. The fit is so exact that the walls form a monolithic, seamless whole, held together by gravity and geometry alone. This technique created structures of incredible resilience, capable of withstanding the salty, humid, and storm-prone environment of the Indian Ocean for centuries. How did the builders achieve such perfection with a material as challenging as coral? The process began with the harvest. Divers would locate specific porite coral heads in the reef, a sustainable practice as they only used coral already broken by storms. These heavy, waterlogged blocks were then floated on rafts to shore on the high tide. Once on land, the real puzzle began. Using hand tools, likely made of iron or hardened wood, skilled craftsmen had to shape the irregular coral masses into perfectly square or rectangular blocks. Coral is abrasive and brittle, making it difficult to cut with clean edges, yet the surviving blocks show remarkably straight sides and smooth faces. The most baffling step was the creation of the interlocking joints. Each block had to be custom carved to fit only one specific spot in the growing wall. This required an extraordinary level of planning and spatial reasoning. Master builders likely worked from a mental blueprint, directing the cutting of each stone so that its unique tongue would slide perfectly into the groove of the stone below and beside it. The precision required is akin to assembling a giant, three-dimensional stone puzzle where every piece is individually handmade. The knowledge of how to execute this technique, passed down through generations of master builders, has since been lost. With the introduction of modern cement and construction methods, the traditional coral stone craftsmanship faded away. Today, these mosques stand as serene, beautiful enigmas. They are a testament to a society that learned to build with the ocean's own material, mastering its challenges through patience, communal skill, and a forgotten art of joinery that turned fragile coral into enduring sanctuaries of faith. The coral mosques demonstrate a mastery of local material, but on the wind-swept coast of Brittany in France, an ancient society worked on a scale that seems to map the very landscape itself. The Carnac stones are not a single monument, but a sprawling, breathtaking complex of over 3,000 prehistoric standing stones, known as menhirs. They are arranged in a series of astonishingly straight, parallel lines that stretch for miles across the countryside. The largest of these alignments, at Voynich, consists of nearly 1,200 stones standing in 11 converging rows, running over a kilometer in length. To stand among them is to feel a profound sense of order imposed upon nature, a grid of granite stretching toward the horizon like a petrified army frozen in time. The sheer scale of the undertaking is almost incomprehensible. These are not small markers. The stones range dramatically in size, from modest boulders to towering megaliths over 4 meters tall and weighing tens of tons. Each one had to be selected, quarried or found, transported sometimes over significant distances, and then erected, its base sunk firmly into the earth to stand for millennia. The organization required for such a project speaks of a society with remarkable unity and long-term vision. Coordinating the labor to place thousands of stones in such precise geometric formations, maintaining those straight lines over hills and valleys, implies a shared cultural goal of immense importance, one that motivated generations of people. This leads to the central, haunting question that has surrounded Carnac for centuries. Why, what purpose could justify such a colossal investment of communal effort? The most poetic theory is an astronomical one. The alignments may have functioned as a giant observatory or calendar, with specific stones marking the rising and setting of the sun or moon during solstices and equinoxes. Some researchers have noted alignments with lunar extremes, suggesting a deep connection to celestial cycles. Others see a more terrestrial purpose, proposing the lines served as sacred processional pathways for religious ceremonies, guiding participants through a ritual landscape between domains of the living and the ancestors. A more practical theory suggests they were territorial markers, delineating the lands of different clans or serving as a symbolic boundary for a shared social space. Yet no single explanation feels complete. The stones offer no carvings, no burial goods, no direct clues to their builders' intentions. They are silent sentinels guarding a secret of societal coordination. The Carnac alignments force us to envision a Neolithic community not as a simple, scattered group of farmers, but as a culture capable of large-scale, democratic project management over centuries. They organized the extraction, movement, and placement of countless tons of stone, all while sustaining their daily lives. This was not the decree of a single pharaoh, but likely the collective will of a people united by a common belief so powerful it moved mountains, or at least stood them upright in rows for miles. The true monument at Carnac may not be the stones themselves, but the invisible social architecture that made them possible, a blueprint for cooperation that has long since turned to dust, leaving only its granite footprint upon the earth. The capital city of Cusco itself is a living museum of this stone mastery, while the fortress of Sacsayhuamán showcases its most monumental form. The same impossible precision is woven into the very fabric of the city's foundations. Walk through the ancient streets and you will find walls that are not merely built but grown from the earth. This is the signature of Inca architecture, polygonal masonry. The stones are not uniform bricks. They are a chaotic mosaic of irregular polygons, each one a unique shape with multiple sides and angles. Yet when placed together, they interlock with such exactness that the wall becomes a single, solid entity. You can see this in the famous 12-angled stone, a single block carved with 12 perfectly fitting facets that nestle seamlessly into the surrounding stones, a testament to both artistic flourish and engineering genius. The technique served a profound purpose beyond beauty. Peru is a land of intense seismic activity, and these walls were designed to dance with the earth. Unlike a rigid, mortared wall that would crack under stress, the interlocking puzzle of polygonal stones allows for flexibility. During an earthquake, the stones can shift and settle against each other, absorbing the energy, and then settle back into place once the tremor passes. This is why so many Spanish colonial buildings, constructed on top of these Inca foundations, have crumbled over the centuries while the original stonework below remains steadfast. The enduring debate, however, centers on the how. How did Inca stonemasons achieve such flawless fits between irregular stones? The process likely began with careful selection. Stones from riverbeds already partially smoothed were often preferred. The shaping was a dialogue between the mason and the material. Using harder stone hammers, they would peck away at a block, slowly refining its shape, constantly fitting it against its intended neighbor. The final fitting might have involved a process of incremental adjustment. One theory suggests they used clay or mud to take an impression of the receiving stone's face. This mold would then guide the shaping of the new block until the two surfaces mirrored each other perfectly. Another possibility involves a technique of rubbing the stones together with sand and water as an abrasive, grinding them down until the contact was total. This would be a slow, painstaking act of creation where two stones were essentially worn into one another over time. The result is a wall with no weak points, no straight lines of mortar to fail, just an endless web of strength. This stonework was the bedrock of an empire, a literal and metaphorical foundation. It speaks of a culture that understood its environment intimately, that chose not to conquer the landscape with rigid geometry, but to collaborate with it, creating structures that were as resilient and interconnected as the society they housed. The walls of Cusco do not simply stand. They hold a conversation with the mountains, a silent dialogue in stone about endurance and harmony. But the true foundation of the Great Pyramid is not the desert sand, but something far more solid and secretive. Beneath the visible wonder lies an entire hidden world, a labyrinth carved into the very bedrock of the Giza Plateau. This is not a single chamber, but a complex network of subterranean tunnels, deep shafts, and unfinished rooms that extend far below the monument's base. For centuries, these spaces were largely inaccessible, known only from ancient descriptions and the risky explorations of early adventurers. One of the most intriguing is the so-called subterranean chamber, a rough-hewn room located deep underground, reached by a steep, narrow descending passage. Its purpose remains completely unknown, as its unfinished state suggests it was abandoned early in the pyramid's construction plan. But the modern era has revealed that the mysteries go even deeper. In recent years, an international scientific team used a revolutionary technique called muon radiography. Muons are subatomic particles that constantly rain down from the atmosphere, passing through solid matter. By placing sensitive detectors inside the pyramid, scientists could map where these particles passed through empty space versus dense stone, creating an X-ray-like image of the monument's internal structure. What they found sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Scans revealed a large, previously unknown void, dubbed simply the Big Void, located directly above the Grand Gallery. This space is enormous, comparable in size to the Grand Gallery itself, stretching for at least 30 meters. It represents a significant, deliberate architectural feature, not a random accumulation of rubble. Yet its exact dimensions, shape, and most importantly, its purpose are complete mysteries. It is a sealed, inaccessible room hidden in plain sight for 45 centuries. This discovery frames a profound engineering puzzle that goes beyond construction. The precision required to excavate these tunnels and chambers through solid limestone bedrock, often at precise angles and over great distances, is astounding in itself. How did ancient workers, using copper chisels and stone hammers, cut these passages with such straight walls and consistent slopes, all while operating in near-total darkness and stifling heat hundreds of feet below the surface? The logistics of removing the excavated rock up those narrow, steep passages are a nightmare to contemplate, but the greater enigma is the design. What was the function of this elaborate subterranean blueprint? Were these tunnels part of a sophisticated water management system, or perhaps a symbolic representation of the underworld? Does the newly discovered void represent a hidden burial chamber, a structural relief chamber to distribute the pyramid's immense weight, or something else entirely? The pyramids have always pointed to the heavens, but their greatest secrets may still lie in the silent, dark world beneath our feet, waiting for a technology or a key that can finally reveal their intended purpose. This silent world beneath the pyramids speaks of hidden weight, but in a temple in southern India, a single pillar demonstrates the opposite principle, a perfect defiance of gravity. Within the 16th century Virabhadra temple at Lepakshi, among a forest of carved columns, one pillar stands apart. It is known as the hanging pillar, and its marvel is in what it does not do. This intricately sculpted stone column appears to support a portion of the temple's ceiling, just like all the others, yet its base does not fully meet the floor. A slender gap exists wide enough for a piece of cloth or a thin sheet of paper to be passed completely beneath it. For centuries, visitors have performed this simple test, watching fabric slide under the solid stone, a visual paradox that feels like magic. The pillar is not dangling from above. It is ingeniously balanced from within its own structure and its connection to the surrounding columns, creating a point of contact that seems to hover. This feat is more than a clever trick, it is a profound architectural mystery. How did the Vijayanagara sculptors achieve such a delicate equilibrium? The pillar is part of a larger hall supported by 70 others, and engineers suggest the entire network is designed to distribute weight in a complex, interdependent manner. The hanging pillar may act as a keystone within this stone lattice, its slight suspension a calculated part of the hall's overall stability. potentially allowing the structure to flex and absorb vibrations from the earth. This leads to an even more fascinating layer, the pillar's acoustic property. When struck gently, it is said to produce a distinct, resonant sound unlike any of the other columns. This suggests the sculptors were not just masters of static balance, but of vibration and harmonics as well. They may have understood how sound waves travel through stone, designing this pillar as a kind of tuning fork within the temple's architecture, perhaps to enhance ritual chants or to serve as a subtle alarm for structural stress. The temple itself is a gallery of other engineering wonders that deepen the awe. In its courtyard rests a massive, monolithic sculpture of the Nandi bull, carved from a single block of granite. Nearby, a giant Nagalinga, a stone representation of a serpent under a flowering tree, is also hewn from one rock. These works speak of a culture with immense confidence in moving and shaping stone. Yet the hanging pillar represents a different, more elusive genius. It is a testament to a lost granular knowledge, an intuitive grasp of physics that blended balance, acoustics, and artistry into a single, silent column. This was not brute force engineering, but a delicate dance with tension and resonance. The pillar's secret likely died with its creators, a precise formula of angles, weight distribution, and material understanding that modern analysis can appreciate but not perfectly replicate. It stands not as a monument to scale, but to subtlety, a quiet reminder that the greatest feats of ancient engineering are sometimes measured not by the weight they bear, but by the slender gap they so beautifully maintain. These silent monuments, from the hovering pillar to the hidden pyramid void, form a chorus of questions across time and space. They are not isolated curiosities, but a collective pattern etched into our planet's skin. Across continents, separated by oceans and millennia, human hands repeatedly achieved what our modern equations and machinery suggest should have been impossible with the tools we have found. This pattern forces a profound humility upon us. It is a reminder that the timeline of human ingenuity is not a simple, upward-sloping graph. Instead, it is a story of brilliant flashes, of deep understanding that could be concentrated, applied with staggering effect, and then sometimes seemingly forgotten. Our ancestors were not primitive versions of ourselves waiting for better technology. They were masters of their own context, wielding a knowledge of materials, astronomy, and communal organization that we are still striving to fully comprehend. Each of these 25 feats represents a challenge to our assumptions, a stubborn piece of evidence that refuses to fit neatly into the historical model we have constructed. They are the driving force behind modern archaeology, pushing scientists to develop new technologies like muon tomography, to re-examine old sites with fresh eyes, and to consider possibilities once dismissed. These structures are more than stone and metal, they are invitations. They ask us to reconsider what a society is capable of when unified by a powerful vision, whether that vision is to touch the stars, to speak to the gods, or simply to create something that would endure. They suggest that history may hold entire libraries of lost knowledge, alternative paths of development that were not taken, or sophisticated techniques that were so specialized they vanished with the cultures that perfected them. So as we look back on this journey, from the celestial clockwork of the Antikythera Mechanism to the silent giants of Easter Island, the final question turns to you. Which of these ancient accomplishments leaves you with the deepest sense of wonder? Which mystery, in your view, most stubbornly defies explanation? The quest for answers is far from over. It is a collaborative puzzle spanning disciplines and generations, and every new perspective brings us closer to hearing the whispers these stones have held for thousands of years. The conversation continues, and your curiosity is the most important tool of all.